Well, ready for the show. I said 2:30 and it's just gone 2:30. And so welcome to the second edition of the At Show. What is the At Show? The At Show is about technology for you. And that's what the strap line says. My name is Miles Pilling. I'm an assistive technologist and I'm leading this show today. The At Show will show you things about assistive technology that will help you achieve much in your life and in your life goals. So what we want to discover today is how you can make use of the Windows accessibility options. You may have a range of disabilities. You may have visual impairment. You may have hearing loss. You may have physical difficulties. And there is a tool out there for you. So what I want to demonstrate today is some of those features. So without further ado, I'm going to go and share my screen now with you. And just give me a minute while that happens. Here we go, share the audio. And away we go. So just going to minimize that screen so that I can talk to you about the accessibility options and where you can find them. To begin with, you start and press on the Windows logo down here. And the second item up is settings. And when I press that, up comes the settings area. Now, in this, we are looking at the accessibility options of Windows 10. There are lesser options in Windows 7 and Windows 8, but Windows 10 has ease of access, as does Windows 7. Except the features are a little bit more easier to find on Windows 10. So the first feature we're going to look at is making the text bigger. And this we can do by pulling along a slider here on display, and this will dynamically increase the text size. You won't see it immediately on the screen here. It'll appear when we open up an application or we look at something on the menu down here. So the thing that would make everything bigger is this, with the title Make Everything Bigger. And just 125% will give you a great increase. As you can see, everything is just that little bit bigger and easier to see. The next point is cursors and pointers. I love this feature because I think for a lot of people with visual impairment, the mouse I'm waving at you at the moment is not really the best size for some people with visual impairment. So what I can do here is I can actually just change the color to a black mouse, for instance. That may help. But the most important feature is being able to pull this along, because as you can see, you can make it go extremely large. That's the largest it is, and that would be a very severe visual impairment. Something comfortable would be round about this size, or 4 or 5, and that would be great for lots of uses that we can see. And the other thing that might help is the cursor. The cursor is the thing that appears before you type anything, and you can make that a little bit larger to see as well, so that it flashes at you at a better rate. And I'm not going to bother too much with touch features because this is not a touch tool machine. So that is what happens with cursors and pointers. Next, we'll look at magnifiers. And the magnifier here is set to, there are 3 options. You can have them change to a dot, which appears at the top of the screen as a bar, full screen, which means the whole of the screen is enlarged, or lens. For most people, the lens feature would be the most important one, and you can achieve that by turning on the tool and pressing Control Alt L, which is what I'm going to do. So Control Alt L, and this brings on the magnifier, and as you can see, it magnifies areas of the screen and therefore you can find your way around. And if you need that little bit of extra magnification, it can really help you. Now, to turn off the magnifier, you press the Windows key and escape. The Windows key and escape, and that changes it off. Because obviously, if you're visually impaired, finding this menu could be very difficult. Another feature that I quite enjoy is the color filters. Now, this is relatively new, and when this option appears, then you have different options and colors. At the moment, I've just changed the entire desktop into gray, as you can see, and this makes it much easier for some visual impairments. You can also invert it, which then produces this kind of effect, which is pretty difficult for a lot of us. And you can have it for different kinds of effects, like green weak dystopia, which gives a look that is not quite so harsh as that. Or you might choose this kind of color, which mutes all the cell colors. There's a big difference between what you just saw and what's just happened there. So let's just show that again. That's quite bright, and this one is much more muted. So you have those options appearing. So if your eyes can't cope with that kind of brightness, and they relate to conditions called deuteropinopia and protenopia, and this one, blue-yellow, is trinopopia, which gives you even less colors, much more muted, and so that's easy on the eyes if you struggle with eye things. So I'm just going to turn that off, and we're back to normality. Also, if you're visually impaired, you might wish to have a high contrast screen. This particular feature can turn the screen into high contrast white, or you can actually have it in a different high contrast. This is set to white, but you can also have it black if that is easier for you to cope with. One of the features is that the actual icons that you see on the screen become much more clearer to see, and they pick out a little bit as well. They're squared around the edges, and it becomes much more of a useful tool. I actually prefer the white option because that gives me much more definition, and I'm able to see things a bit more clearly when I come over them. Notice that the blocks are actually not quite so clearly brought out, but this is very clear, as is down here. So that's the option called contrast, high contrast, and it enables you to actually be able to go in and find those particular features that we're looking at. There we go, ease of access. So high contrast. So I'm just going to click on that, turn it off, and we come back to our normal screen. You can also make some various changes down here as well, and you can change the way different types of text looks with those options when it's switched on. So that gives you the vision focus. The last one is Narrator. This is a really interesting tool as well, and has had some upgrades that's making it much more of a tool that you would want to use. So just going to see if we can turn on Narrator, and there is a very useful guide to Narrator online here, and I'm just going to play one or two aspects of it so you get the feel for it. So I'm turning it on, and you should begin to hear something when I click on the complete guide to Narrator online. Hopefully, we'll get somewhere in a minute. And there's things that it can do, like it can talk through different elements. Heads up, narrator, turn off narrator.
Mouse mode on.
Okay.
We've updated the narrator keyboard layout so it more closely matches the experience you may have had with other screen readers. If you want Narrator to tell you what commands are associated with the keys you're pressing, you can turn on input learning by pressing caps lock +1. To turn it off, press caps lock +1 twice. To learn more, press
input learning +1.
Input learning off. Settings window. Use narrator. Link. Startup options. Narrator heading level 1. Welcome to Narrator. This is Narrator Home, where you can get help, access your settings, and learn about new features. Narrator is a screen reader that describes aloud what's on your screen, so you can use that information to navigate your device. To start or stop Narrator, press the Windows logo key and Control and Enter. Explore the sections below to exiting Narrator.
There we go. So you can actually have lots and lots of different commands that you can allow for Narrator to speak to you, and it could be a very useful tool for starting off and getting into your device, your Windows device. You can change the speed of the voice. You can also change the pitch as well as the voice. So we'll have Hazel, and when I go back to open Narrator Home, hopefully you will see
Narrator dialogue.
Okay. It's a different voice.
Okay. Settings window. Start. Quick start. Main landmark.
And
main landmark.
This is explaining.
This guide shows you the basics of using Narrator. Narrator reads aloud what's on your screen so you can use that.
Okay, so, and there is a guide that you can go through, and that guide, if you use the down arrow,
navigation land, start guide button.
And if I press enter,
you will hear keyboard shortcuts and narrator commands that may be useful to you. They'll sound like this. Caps lock +1. That means press and hold caps lock, then press the number 1 H. Navigation back button.
Using the down arrow key, I can move through the wizard and enable being able to move along the dialogue.
Scan mode is a feature of Narrator that lets you use just a few keys to move around your screen. Scan mode is already on unless you turned it off. You can practice turning it off and on by pressing caps lock and spacebar. Be sure it's turned on for the remainder of main narrator. Exiting Narrator.
So that's Narrator, and very powerful tool indeed. Moving on, audio. You can change the way that your headphones and sound can be played through hearing aids. Turning on mono might make it easier for people with hearing loss to actually listen. And also there are flashing elements that you can put on the window. Here are the options. No flashing alerts, flash the title bar, the active window, just to give visual clues to the user. I'm going to leave it on flashing bars at the windows. Closed caption is going to be useful when you actually are in YouTube or other places. You need to see a moving caption, and I particularly like this at the bottom here, dim window content, so that you can add text background to improve contrast. I usually set it to black and the transparency to translucent, so you literally cannot see it, and you just have white text on black background. That gives you the best combination. Moving on, we look at speech, and you can have dictation into the bars by using Windows and the H key to start dictation, and you can use that to put things in. You can also use Cortana to start that dictation mode. You can switch it on here, or you could use the Windows Control S key. So I don't know if this is going to work because it didn't in practice, so I'll warn you of that. And at the moment, I don't have a headset microphone. I have a USB connection, so I'm not sure this will work. Peter dictates to his computer. He prefers it to typing and particularly prefers it to pen and paper. So there we go. Next. Microphone is ready to use with this computer. Click next to set up. Don't want to use that option. Yeah, I just want to have it manually set up. And then there's a reference sheet I can call on, and I can run startup of speech at the time. So I'm going to basically skip the tutorial and just try down here. This has been around since Windows 10 and Windows 7, and I can use it to find things. So I'll switch it on. Cortana. Google. Okay, not such a good demonstration. Google. Right, let's switch off down the bottom here. Google. Rights and wrongs weren't clear. So it's not particularly accurate just for me at the moment. So because I'm using a webcam array, so I'll come out of that. So speech keyboard. Now there is the option, and you can use the Windows logo key, Control All, to switch on and switch off the on-screen keyboard. I'm switching it on, and it will appear here. And its features are that when you start to type, it will predict what you're trying to say. We are clear. So I'm going to use the words clear, and it should get the word by the second or third click, as it has done. And this would write into any program that you wish to use, and it's very useful for joysticks if you're a person who can't use a normal mouse or even a trackball, so that you can easily pick up words from this online keyboard. Very useful. And then there are other keyboard features that are worth to know. So we've got one key pressing at a time. So for people who've got problems with their fingers, this would enable one key presses, toggling between caps lock and number lock and scroll lock. And the one that is quite useful is ignoring repeated keystrokes, which can happen if you've got ataxia or a kind of problem with your physical features of that. So that's really an important feature there. I'm not so sure about the access, underlining access could be very useful if you need to find out what the letter is to do a shortcut press, and the print screen key, which does screen snipping, which is a session in itself. So those are the features there. The mouse, you can use the if you've got a large scale keyboard, you can have a keypad mouse to the right and have that working. And a new kid on the block, which many people might not be aware of, is eye control. Now for eye control, I've actually got an eye gaze bar, a system that means I can control movement with my eyes. So I'm going to turn it on, and you'll see a little screen at the top. And when I start to look at something, it will begin to appear. So I'm going down, and I've got to watch where I look. So, and it will actually make things work. And I'm just using my eyes and moving around the screen and controlling the computer that way. And so I can go to all areas. Here we are. We've got it working with the keyboard.
Goodbye.
Oh, that's very good. So, great tool, and something that is very useful. I can do all kinds of things with the settings as well. And it as you can see, my eyes are moving wherever this happens. So I can make it go slower. I can shape and form words at glancing at them. I can do all of that. So I'm in complete control of the computer with my eyes. So what I need to do is switch that off, or else I won't be able to continue with the session. So it provides a toolbar that can do all of that. So I'm going to stop screen sharing now and come back to me. Hopefully I'm still here in the show. And hopefully you were able to see most of that. Thank you for watching. This is the AT Show. Tune in next week where we look at some more accessibility of operating systems. See you then. Thank you. Bye-bye.